I'm Keith Pierce. Welcome to Save Our Towns, a series designed to guide and inspire those who are working hard in Appalachia to build strong communities. From Big Stone Gap, Galax, and Glade Spring, Richlands, Marion, Pulaski, Bristol, and Lebanon, we've been on the ground meeting some pretty inspirational small-town Virginians. And we'd like to say thank you to mayors, small-town managers, and the teams who helped us with our visits. But we've only just begun to scratch the surface of our commitment to bringing examples of success as well as expert guidance in your quest to build a town for the future. In this, our last episode of Season 1, we'll show you a town that made its way onto an international top 10 list. We'll do our final check-in with Mayor Kyle Fletcher in St. Paul, and we'll bring you another quick tip from an expert. Our Virginia Tech faculty interview touches on the role of powerful economic interest in Appalachia. And as always, we close with 3 questions for a mayor. As you mayors and small town managers know, our examples of awesome stories are about you, not about us. Today is an exception because on a cold February day in Buchanan, we found Virginia Tech is a big part of the story. 20 years ago, a Virginia Tech student helped create a plan for Buchanan's downtown. But wait, let's let our field reporter, Virginia Tech student Jessica Snead, tell the story.
Of all the things for a newspaper to call a town, the Roanoke Times referred to Buchanan as the armpit of Botetourt County. What a legacy to overcome. In the next breath, fortunately, the paper spoke of the town's transformation and charm. Recently, the town earned not just national, but also international attention when Folders, possibly the most famous travel publication in the world, named it one of the 10 best places in the U.S. to buy antiques. The Purgatory Emporium once was a hardware store and now has 50 vendors. Buchanan's antique shops are tucked away in the unlikeliest of places, including this filling station with no sign or even a name. You never know what you'll find inside a place like this. The James River runs along the edge of this town. This footbridge was destroyed in the big flood of 1985, a flood that devastated downtown as well as residents' morale. After the flood, the town turned to the Virginia Tech Community Design Assistance Center for help. Harry Gleason was then a landscape architecture student. He worked on the project and was later hired in a newly created role to address revitalization. He is now completing his 20th year in that job.
With the changing demographics, competition, and really the flood of 1985, people's confidence in downtown had really been altered. And so it took a couple small steps of progress for people to see that it could happen, and then they would join in to be part of the new program.
After months of plans, drawings, and community meetings, Gleason began to implement a revitalization plan. He would ask a shopkeeper if the town could help clean their windows or help create a prettier storefront. The town might even sponsor an event, and Gleason would go onto social media to spread the word. One of their super smart approaches was to market Buchanan as a place where tourists could shop for antiques as they passed from the New River Valley into the Shenandoah Valley.
As we started promoting the town, we learned that our locally owned mom and pop businesses' best chance for survival was the niche market. And the ones that seemed to have the most success were the antique shops.
Buchanan's success, according to Gleason, came from focusing on one thing and doing it really well. Persistent business owners and dedicated volunteers were also key. This tiny town, with just a little more than 1,000 residents, shows that building a big reputation is one way to save a town.
We're saying goodbye to Jessica in this episode, and we wish her well as she'll be graduating later in the spring. Now for our latest look at St. Paul with Mayor Kyle Fletcher. The town saved $65,000 by renting trucks and backhoes and doing a big dredging project itself. With outdoor recreation a big part of Mayor Kyle Fletcher's tourism efforts, St. Paul's Lake is an ace in the hole.
And we have picnics, and we have our fishing tournament every spring. When we have Quince River Days, we'll have 400 or 500 people in here fishing, maybe even 1,000 if you count all the ones that's up on the other side. So it's a big, big thing.
For outdoor enthusiasts, hiking a mile around the lake is always an option, and the circuit fits in nicely with the town's reputation for scenic views and hiking trails.
If they want to cross onto this side and go all the way down and open that other gate, that's another 5 miles.
With the sediment dredging completed, problem solved. The lake is once again a popular spot for fishing and more.
We took about 2 weeks to do this, but we've done it.
This year will be the 17th annual Clinch River Days Festival, which takes place at the end of May. It's a good time to visit St. Paul if you haven't already. It hasn't been a full year since we first visited St. Paul, so we promised to come back to you in the summer with an update focused solely on the town and the mayor's projects, which, as you know, have included the sewer plant, the hotel, the new industry, and more. Now for our expert tip. John Accordino of Virginia Commonwealth University is one of the gurus of economic development in Virginia. You'll see how his advice meshes with the experience of Buchanan in the story we saw earlier.
And focusing is a matter of bringing to bear your good information with the understanding of what your potential is, what's your potential niche, what can you do better than others aren't doing, and how does what you do complement what somebody else in the region does, so that you're choosing that first step with a lot of understanding of where it's going to take you. Obviously, you want to start, if you can, with low-hanging fruit. So don't start with the most difficult thing that nobody's been able to accomplish for 10 years.
You can read a transcript of the complete interview and learn how to contact John Accordino at the Save Our Towns website. Click on the Connect with Experts tab. Next, my colleague Holly Cobia interviews Sam Cook of the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences. He is an expert on how powerful interests can create an assault on a community, and also on the survival techniques the community can apply.
Sam, you studied the Monacan Indians in Amherst County, Virginia, and also you studied some residents of Wyoming County, West Virginia, specific to economic dependency. Can you briefly describe what that is and how that affected those two groups?
Yes, dependency is a situation in which a specific region is very much dependent on a core metropolitan region that controls commerce, for various complicated reasons has become the provider of resources for the rest of the world. And so the economy of that region is basically centered around extractive industries or resources.
So what were they for those two groups, for the Monacan Indians and then Wyoming County?
Right, and for the Monacans earlier, in the early to mid 20th century, it was really a state of debt peonage as sharecroppers and tenant farmers on orchards and tobacco farms, because there was a virtual caste system in which Indians were really at the bottom, and for various very peculiar reasons in Virginia, with the eugenic laws applying to Indians in particular, local farmers were able to exploit those laws and extract Indian labor.
And in Wyoming County?
In Wyoming County, it was really the single industry economy that emerged around coal. That really all other industries, all other services were beholden to coal.
And fast forwarding, how do those economic dependencies prevail today in small town Appalachia?
Well, particularly in the coal fields, and I think we could look at this model in other communities as well. The fact that just many of especially various programs during the Great Depression, which catalyzed exclusive dependence on a cash economy, people had to essentially serve their needs that were based around cash and not subsistence. So that, as we move forward and even the technologies that we embrace or are forced to embrace, smartphones, whatever, we have to earn cash rather than engaging in the activities that, such as subsistence activities that require a degree of cooperation.
You also talk about breaking the bonds of colonialism as a goal, and is this something that mayors of small towns in Appalachia must do before they can achieve economic prosperity?
Well, I think so. A lot of people would argue that that's archaic thinking, but I really believe that, we have colonial situations in not all of Appalachia, but certainly in areas such as West Virginia, where every governor since the inception of statehood, with the exception of two, has been a coal executive or had substantial ties. And laws are specifically, as we've seen recent media reports, very much built around catering to the coal industry.
So understanding our past, obviously very important in moving forward. Thank you, Sam.
You're welcome.
Each month, we close the show with 3 questions for a mayor or town manager. We're closing the season with Mary Zirkle, also a Virginia Tech grad, who in 2014 took on the newly created job of town manager in Buchanan.
Mary Zirkle, town manager, town of Buchanan, Virginia. I would hope it would be under vibrant, because that's what we are. I would say right now vacancies in our buildings. We have a lot of opportunities is what we call them. So we're trying to fill up those vacant buildings, those opportunities that we have for anybody who's available and willing to take that challenge on. That we are an excellent destination and we're convenient to most everything in the area, being right off of 81 between Lexington and Roanoke. We're the gateway to the Shenandoah Valley, so we want people to know we're available and accessible and ready for their visit.
For more resources and contact information for the experts we interview, go to the Save Our Towns website. This is the end of the road for Season 1, but you can still share your stories on the website or send your thoughts to saveourtowns@vt.edu. This is Episode 9. Be sure to join us for Season 2 in the fall. And as always, thank you so much for watching.